The financial crisis never finished. It is still here today, and the Federal Reserve is the number one enemy. That's right, they are simply preventing what should happen naturally in the market. The market is not able to act naturally, and what happens is you have this artificial financial system. I will show you how the Fed is preventing a global economic collapse. Let's look at this chart right away. This is the S&P 500 versus the size of the Fed balance sheet. This is something that the mainstream media will not cover, and many alternative news outlets aren't covering either. Look at the fact that over these past few years since the financial crisis began, the stock market is trading directly in line with the rise of the Federal Reserve's balance sheets. This is something that you cannot avoid. Look at this. This is the proof that you need. Now, you may say to yourself, this is an article out of Zero Hedge, and even though it says that the sources are Dutch Bank and Bloomberg, maybe that's not the case. But even if you look, I believe this was 2013 it ends off in here, and this is out of the Financial Times, showing you the exact same thing. The Federal Reserve's balance sheet and the S&P are directly correlated. These are the facts that we need to prove that the markets are being manipulated. This is not just in the US, this is worldwide. Take a look at this article here. Bank of Japan emerging as a big Japanese stock buyer. This is something that I covered before in previously in a video, but let's take a look at the first line here. The Bank of Japan is growing into its role as a key source for support for the country's stock market, stepping up the exchange-traded funds they're buying, and basically they're saying that they've purchased $64 billion worth. Now, really, in the grand scheme of things, that's not much. However, the central bank is printing a lot of money and giving it out to the banking industry and continuing to prop up the zombie banks. At the bottom here in the highlighted portion, it says the Bank of Japan tends to make 10 billion yen to 20 billion yen worth of purchases when the stock market prices fall in the morning. So it's like a little natural system that they've set up. Watch the stock prices go down and they go in to make their purchases. It seems legitimate enough to me. But let's take a look at this. This is out of congress.gov. Once again, I give you the stats right from the government websites. I do not make these things up. This is HR 5148, Access to Affordable Mortgages Act of 2014. Now, we had the subprime crisis that really was booming in the 2000s, and obviously a huge problem with these ninja loans, no income jobs and assets. Anyone could have gotten a home, but they said they were going to put a stop to that. Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac were taken over by the US government, taking all the worst mortgages you could possibly imagine onto their books. That's a great way to do things. So if I just scroll down just for a moment here to read you what it says. Access to Affordable Mortgages Act of 2014. This is right from their website, mind you. Amends the Truth in Lending Act to exempt from property appraisal requirements for certain higher risk mortgage loans. There you go. They're already relaxing this so that they can get an increased level of the housing prices. They need to support these housing prices because they're supposed to be coming down, but the low interest rates are keeping them where they are. I'll move on. This is the stop and seize. This is something that's very interesting. A lot of the financial experts, so-called experts, don't get into it, but I believe it's very important because it is telling of the future, and that's what we need to do. We need to predict the trends. This is out of the Washington Post. You can read the article for yourself. I just want to mention it. Aggressive police take hundreds of millions of dollars from motorists not charged with crimes. That's what happens here, because when there is a lack of prosperity in the system, you're going to have have individuals committing more and more crime. If individuals were prosperous, then there would be low crime. That's the way it works. Wherever there's low prosperity, look around in different cities, in different countries around the world, the higher the prosperity, the lower the crime in general. And that's what's happening right here with the police. While they are basically pulling people over, taking their cash, and what it says is that in order to fight them back, it would cost too much money. So oftentimes people just let it go. And that's happening hundreds of millions of dollars worth. Pretty amazing when you think about it. This right here, the swollen state, transfer payments as a percentage of personal income. Pretty interesting when you see that an individual's personal income often made up of government handouts. That's what's happening with the food stamp program, with all the other welfare programs, disability, and all those type of statistics that I like to cover here, showing you that where are they getting the money to spend oftentimes is, certain individuals, of course, but it looks like and this is increasing year over year, that's coming from the government. Something pretty interesting. This source is out of the Bloomberg, and something I wrote in my book. Government expansion. We're talking about how the jobs that they create. They're saying that they're creating all of these jobs. They're fixing everything. The economy is better. Unemployment is, going down, and so on and so forth. But look at this that I quoted here. The best example of this was that 1.2 million census workers were hired in 2010. These are low-paid temporary workers, and they're going to find themselves unemployed yet again. So that's what happens. They hire these temp workers, and in fact most of the jobs they created are temporary. So they create these temporary jobs, then they lose their jobs, but that doesn't matter because then they hire them back again, so they can continuously show this false statistic showing you how many jobs are created every month. That's the way they manipulate the numbers. The economy, quite frankly, isn't getting better. That's how the government is able to prevent a collapse in a certain way, because they subsidize everything. Let's look at this right here. The world's largest subprime debtor, the U.S. government. You can read the article for yourself, and basically it sums it up right there. The U.S. government prints the money. They are able to buy up the shares of certain companies. They're able to take on things like Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. They're there to support the economy in any way they can. The U.S. government is there to backstop anything that happens at all costs, no matter what. And here they are now, the world's largest subprime debtor. That's just something that happens essentially. But look at this right here. Venezuela opens gold vault for Bank of America analyst to count bars. Now, of course, not directly related to what's happening here, but I just wanted to mention this and to make you think about something before we leave off for this day's video. Investors are bracing for the possibility of default. And at this point here, they thought perhaps it's very interesting to take a look at the gold vault and see if they really do have the amount they say they do. Now, wouldn't that be interesting to take a look at the gold vaults for the US when they feel that a default is coming? So we all know the reality of the situation is that the US does not have the amount of gold that they say they do. Of course, they've leased all that gold out. They've rehypothecated, so on and so forth. Over and over again, that money is gone. That wealth, that true wealth, is gone and has been left with nothing but IOUs. The Federal Reserve, the U.S. government, is supporting this with a fraudulent fiat paper monetary system, and it's not going to last forever. I want to say to all of you who commented on my video yesterday, it seems like you guys want a bit longer videos, at least if it calls for that. I will certainly not be afraid to do those longer videos, a few minutes extra here and there, and I will try to bring you that good, solid information. Thank you very much for all the positive comments. It's really good to know that people are listening to this information and using it. And I also wanted to say that if you want more information, you should should be an insider. It's totally free, and it's at themoneygps.com, and there are now 900 of individuals on there as insiders, and they are enjoying the information. I constantly get emails through there. It's great. I like to reply to all those people. We can get the conversation going back and forth. And if you want to be an insider, scroll down to the bottom of themoneygps.com, fill in your email address, and you'll be hearing from me.